The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hi.
And Mike.
In the year 1621, the Pilgrims held their first Thanksgiving feast. They invited the great Indian chief Massasoit, who brought 90 of his brave Indians and a great abundance of food. Governor William Bradford and Captain Miles Standish were honored guests. Elder William Brewster, who was a minister, said a prayer that went something like this.
No, no. I know that's long. It's gotta be. So definitely
I'm just looking over on the screen. There are a lot of words there, so yeah, we can just cut that
pass.
off.
Hard pass.
It's the actual Charlie Brown Thanksgiving line. It's his whole speech. I always wanted to see how far you let me get.
Nope. That far.
Pretty far
that was
on.
about
It's
it.
Yeah, well, I let you have your fun. I wasn't going to cut you off, but
Appreciate that.
I got to respect the listener's time. So, but we have another fun-filled episode. Obviously, this is Thanksgiving Eve, which is like nothing. It's not an actual thing that exists.
It's a big drinking day.
It's a big travel day as well.
Yeah.
So we're very sorry that this is coming out tonight instead of when you were traveling. But we're not really
If you're
that
traveling
sorry.
tomorrow morning, which is the morning that you're hearing this, hey,
Yeah,
enjoy that
I know
turkey.
that.
Yeah.
You totally need the magic news that you waited for.
Or when you're listening to this after you're falling asleep from tryptophan, good night.
We'll still be here when you wake up, depending on how long you nap for.
That's true.
you may have to rewind the podcast.
Yeah.
Or,
When the
go
end
back.
music, kicks in and you hear some sweet Mega Man tunes, then you'll realize you've gone too far.
All right. At some point later in the cast, I'm just gonna stop and say, "Well, wake up, sleepyhead," to all you tryptophan sleepers, and we're gotta leave it in, and then hopefully that person who does fall asleep, one person out of any listener will just be like, "Hey, thanks, I
Like,
needed
what?
that."
What? How'd they know?
So we have another fun-filled episode for you guys here. We have a couple of community topics that we want to discuss, and then there was the World Magic Cup, and then an Open in Knoxville that was standard that we want to talk about, and then we actually have a question of the week here. So a pretty stacked episode. So let's just jump right into it and get into the community segment. So over the weekend, we actually got. Well, I guess it was technically over the weekend, right? It was like Monday or something, maybe.
I don't know.
When we actually got
Within the last week.
correct. We
That encompasses it.
got a look at the 2016 holiday card, and it is Thopter Pi Network, which is obviously pretty awesome. Mike, do you want to review what the card does? I assume you have it up.
So, Thopter Pie Network. I should say, beyond anything else, the art is adorable because it's got little Thopters carrying pies. Thopter Pie Network is blue, and 2 generic for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you are eating, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Use food to represent the token. Whenever a creature token you control dies, if it's represented by food, eat it. The flavor text. They all thought her dream was just pie in the sky.
So obviously this card's pretty cool. It's a take on Thopter Spy Network, and these holiday cards, they're fun, and you don't really typically commonly players don't really have access to them. They usually get distributed to stores and what have you. So you might see this in your local stores, behind their case or something like that, just as a badge of honor from Wizards to get it. I know. I think Comic Town's got a few of them before, so they're pretty cool. And it's difficult that they still do it. It's just one of those things. As a collector, you really want to get your hands on.
Yeah, so we were discussing this. We were trying to figure out what's the most dangerous food you could use as tokens that if a board wipe happened, you would have to eat all at once. We said like atomic warheads would be good for this.
I feel like, habanero peppers or something like that.
But see, here's the trick. Like, what's something that you can actively be eating for a long time so you can still get benefit from this card, which is the hard part. So warheads is the highest risk.
Well, fireballs worked as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true as well. But you'd have to you figure out rules well, I have a jawbreaker. So, and then I have all these little jawbreakers. I'm going to, it takes forever.
Got a little hammer and chisel, chipping off pieces of it.
But I was like, now you just play it with Skittles or M&Ms.
Just bake a nice thing of monkey bread.
Oh, yeah, and just rip pieces off.
Yeah, right? That's
that'd
the
be great.
delicious way to play it.
Anyway,
I don't even know what monkey bread is.
Oh man, it's like cinnamon bread, but it's like in little chunks. It's
Okay.
it sometimes it almost works like a bread where you'd put like a spinach in the middle, like a dip, like an Arctic.
Oh,
dip.
okay.
But in this case, it'd be like
It has cinnamon in it. I can get down with that.
Yeah, it's real good.
it's a wonderful dessert.
But this made me want to ask a question.
Correct.
What is all of your, and I'll share first, but all of your favorite food themed Magic cards? Now, I thought about this because I thought of the card Recycle. And this is originally from Tempest, and this is an old enchantment. Now, you might say Recycle. That doesn't. Well, you got to look at the art. The art of Recycle has a Squee, a very happy Squee, which is a goblin. Was a goblin legend you may have heard of, wearing a chef's hat, serving food to the crew of the Weatherlight. The kick is that Squee's a really bad cook. If you're familiar with Futurama, Squee is the bender of their party and doesn't know how food's supposed to taste, and they all get very sick because of it. As a kid, like I remember opening that card in a pack and just like laughing really, really hard because and they don't really make art like that anymore. Like that's not something they do.
Yeah, it has like the old like Phil Foglio art.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly who it is. Yep.
Yeah,
Phil-
like he has like a very like cartoonish art. Like it's very distinct. Like you'll know. Like I just knew just from looking at it.
Right.
but yeah, that's always my favorite food themed Magic card.
Okay. Yeah, I got to think about this one a little bit. I'm going to go with the Squeaking Pie Sneak.
Didn't know that was a real card initially.
Yeah, that's I believe it's from Lorwyn. It's a goblin. He's like hiding inside a log or something. I don't know, but he's sneaking pies apparently.
He's waiting for the Thopter to come around.
Yeah, I can get down with some pumpkin pie. So
As far as mine goes, it is one of the other holiday cards. It is a Fruitcake Elemental, and it's a 7/7 for green 1, and it's indestructible. In case you're wondering, also it deals 7 damage to you, and then you can pay 3, and target player gains control of it because you just keep giving Fruitcake to people. Like that's the whole gist of the card, which is great. Honestly, like this card seems like something they would print as like a skill tester. And like I said, like it doesn't even seem that busted. It's like, oh no, you would just like figure out a way to break this card. That's all. But that's always my favorite, just because it's hilarious and no one likes fruitcake. But that's it for our Thanksgiving section of the show. But we do wish everyone in the U.S. who is celebrating Thanksgiving.
No, there's another part.
Oh,
yeah, we have another Thanksgiving part.
That's
That's
the
just the
end.
food section.
Preemptive, sir.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move into the Edge of the Battlefield. Santiago was released, and this is something I haven't had a chance to watch yet. Have you guys had a chance to check it out yet?
I watched the first one.
Yeah, I watched it.
I watched part 1.
I didn't see it when they originally aired during the World Magic Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So they just posted it yesterday, Tuesday,
Gotcha.
on YouTube. So I was able to.
So maybe I did watch a bit of that then. If it was they played during the World Magic Cup, I remember seeing that actually. So
Yep.
it was pretty interesting. It's nice to see how Magic is represented in another part of the world, and you get to see the local community that exists there, and especially around the World Magic Cup, you got to see players who are local to root for their team basically. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I think like it wasn't just on Santiago or Chile, but it was just kind of the whole like South American Magic scene. They had a lot of interviews with a lot of people from like Brazil, Argentina, all over the place, and it's kind of seems like a very like tight knit community that they have going on down there.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it was the first time they had ever filmed in South America. So, it was pretty interesting. They definitely touched on, or noted about how difficult it is to make it kind of on the pro scene from that part of the world, just because of how expensive it is to travel.
Right.
And also about how, even just having a Grand Prix that is in South America, like people will go to great lengths just to attend that because they don't get that many tournaments. So it kind of like makes you think about, we're pretty lucky to have, such a thriving community, where we are, in Columbus and around here, but also just in America. I mean, we have, the Star City circuit that we can, attend. We have multiple GPs, per year that we can attend. So we have it pretty good, but, not everywhere in the world has that same
Yeah, that luxury.
opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's pretty cool. Like if this continues, obviously, and they extend it to go around to other cities across the world, and like we get to see snippets of their community as they go. And I think it's a great replacement for the walking the plane series, and so I these would be awesome to be like collected somewhere so you can like sit people down and like watch these basically high production documentaries about Magic the Gathering, and I think that's pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, I mean, it went right along with the World Magic Cup because I think that more than any other tournament just kind of shows, the worldwide or widespread nature of the game that, really is a global game. So
yeah, I know they did one. Didn't they do one on Roanoke as well?
Yeah, Roanoke was the first one, and that one, it focused on Roanoke, but it was more, that was after BBD's World Championship win. So
yeah,
it seems as though they're just going to focus on a location, or maybe that's where they're filming it. But maybe in the future they'll have specific players as they'll focus on. Who knows?
Yeah, they pretty much have a large litany of things that they can really select from with the enter the battlefield tag in front of it. So I'm pretty excited, and I've always been very impressed with what they have done, and we've spoken very highly of them. So I think it's great, and if you haven't checked it out, definitely give it a watch. Anything else for the community, gentlemen? No,
I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's give a shout out to our sponsor then. Comic Town is having their Standard Showdown on this Saturday. November 26th.
November 26th.
Oh, okay. At 1 p.m. It's only $5 entry.
1 p.m.
And, you can take your standard deck there and try to get one of those awesome prize packs.
Yeah, standard. But prize packs!
Yeah, we'll talk about standard here a little bit more extensively, but the prize packs are awesome. I mean, a 1 in 33 chance of getting a, masterpiece card is pretty awesome, to say the least. And so, we hope to, see you guys go out there and, challenge each other and play some sweet, sweet rounds of standard.
Yeah, and this is... Standard Showdown is something that they're pushing, everywhere. So, I mean, if you're not local to Columbus, just hit up your local store and support them. It's something that...
you can certainly come to Comic Town if you want to, though.
Well, I'm saying, sure, if you want to fly into Columbus, after Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's good, but a lot of our listeners aren't.
Is it a great
local.
time though? We advocate to fly in during the holiday season.
But the winter hasn't set in, and we have it all frozen to death.
It's pretty cold up here.
Yeah, we didn't have fall this year, guys. I don't know if you know this. It was
I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt at the zoo over the weekend.
And a t-shirt most days, but
yeah.
Oh,
we're
you
different.
call me fat?
Yeah, I didn't say that.
I know. I agree.
Different physiques.
Friday it was very warm, 74.
It was
degrees.
70s. Yeah,
at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
and literally the next day it was
snow,
30.
Actual snow.
Yep.
Ohio.
Yeah, our weather is fun. So, but yeah, head out to Comic Town or your local store, of course, and go play in the Standard Showdown. So,
Showdown.
Competitive. Stop. We've moved on. So we are going to. No, I see you already trying to do it.
he's queuing it up.
The listeners can't see you, but I can see you still. So we're gonna talk about the World Magic Cup.
World Magic Cup.
That was a sneak attack.
And this was Team Limited and Unified Modern, and this started on Friday.
Yeah.
And lasted through Sunday, so you had this to watch throughout your entire weekend. It was on a little bit early, if you are in the U.S., so you may not have been able to watch a lot of it, but you were you had access to it for the important parts, the finals and stuff like that. And you guys will probably watch a lot of Unified Modern. Greece was the winner of the tournament, defeating Belgium in the finals. So they are your 2016 World Magic champions.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was kind of a redemption story a little bit for Greece. You might remember a couple of years ago they lost to the Dune Blast against was it Denmark in the finals. So they were kind of right there and got kind of top decked out in the finals and ended up losing. So came back and won it. And I believe I said this then too, that it's cool to see countries like Greece, who really aren't well represented on the Pro Tour, kind of show up to these things and really do some damage. I don't think. Well, I know for a fact that a Greek person has never won a Pro Tour. I don't even think it has ever even top 8 at a Pro Tour. So for them to take down the team event was pretty cool to see, and that's something that they're always going to have.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the World Magic Cup has always been relatively good about is shining a light on potentially smaller countries where they may not have a lot of Magic players that do well at the Pro Tour level, but still gives them a very, very lucrative, very, very difficult tournament to compete in and really shine and show a light on their local Magic community.
And I think that was probably the most evident with Panama. So Panama made top 8.
Don't do it. I know what you're gonna do.
Sorry.
They finished dead last last year. And were able to come back and finish in the top 8 this year. So that's pretty cool. It was a good story.
I can't. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry.
I know you want to though.
I really do.
If you guys don't know what Mike wants to do, then you clearly haven't listened to enough hair metal in your entire existence. But it's fine.
Yeah, no, Dave's right though. Congratulations to Panama.
I didn't know what he was talking about.
Oh, really?
I
How
was
did you
you're
know
like,
that?
what?
Wow.
What?
Oh,
Wow,
jeez.
okay.
All right, Dave's one of those people. Do you want to give a shout out to Italy because they also top eighted? And so congrats to Mengucci and Co.
Yeah, they're trying to run it back.
Yeah, they were. I thought they were going to do it. I was kind of rooting for them.
So I was rooting for them to an extent, but they did have a Lantern control deck in their 3 decks, so it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to root for that guy. But
They did also have Ad Nauseam as one of their decks.
They did have Ad Nauseam.
So, and that's what Mengucci was playing. So I was like, yeah. He went like undefeated with it through the Swiss almost.
Right. Now, he did say he got pretty lucky to not get ever paired up against Infect.
Oh, that's
which is like
extremely
a horrible
lucky.
matchup.
Yes, correct.
And I
he
think
picked the correct seed.
Infect was like the most played deck in the Unified Modern. There's a breakdown. I think Infect and Dredge were probably the 2 most played decks that teams chose. But Italy kind of ran into a buzzsaw in Belgium because the way that the decks matched up, so Italy had Ad Nauseam up against Infect, and then they had Lantern Control up against Burn, which is like probably that worst matchup. And then I think the other match was like Dredge against I don't remember what the other deck was, but the other one was like kind of a close matchup. But they had 2 horrendous matchups. Mm-hmm. And United States finished in the top 16, so they didn't quite get there. They were doing pretty well for a while. I know that they had a bye on day 2. This is like a really strange structure to this tournament, so I'm not going to get into all the specifics. But they had a bye on day 2. Their first pod, they won their first 2 matches, so they automatically advanced to the second stage on day 2, and then unfortunately lost 2 matches in that pod and were not able to advance to the top 8. But it was pretty cool. So we know, Owen Turnwall was the captain for the United States, and Kevin Jones was the other, I guess, kind of a known player. And the way that they chose the decks for the Unified Modern was they said, okay, Kevin Jones is really good with this Grixis Delver list, so you're going to play that, and then we'll figure out what other decks we can fit. So it ended up, Infect was one of the other decks, which has a tiny bit of overlap with Grixis Delver because they both have Gitaxian Probe. So they put the probes in the Infect deck. And then they had Green-White Tron was the 3rd deck. But the problem is they didn't have Tom Ross piloting it. So I don't think it did as well.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. We were all hoping for the top 8, but alas, we'll just have to take 10th.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. Like, I didn't watch too much of it, but I paid attention to some of the deck choices. And you mentioned like Green White Tron. Like, so many teams had an Infect player on their team, and I think you had to guess that. Like, I don't think I liked the choice of Tron, but
yeah, Tron was. I didn't see any other team that was playing Tron.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the breakdown, and I think on here,
there
was only one copy of Green Red Tron, and then 3 copies total of Green White Tron across all of them. So
Yeah, I think the interesting thing was like, now this isn't obviously it's not representative of a real modern metagame.
correct.
Like for example, we didn't see any. I didn't even see one Death Shadow aggro deck, and you can't really play that because that deck needs probes that something like Infect might need.
Needs
the
Become
mana
Immense.
base. Yeah, Become Immense. Yeah, exactly.
And the
for
mana-
Infect.
yeah.
The mana base is like all over the place, and
Yeah, so with specifically with Mana Base Unified Modern, if one card was in a deck, you couldn't have it in any other deck, regardless of the amount.
Right.
So Death Shadow's like, I need 4 shocks.
yeah, so it's like, oh, so you can't play like Burn, Jund, Zoo, like any kind of black green X deck. So yeah,
No.
it takes away from too many things. Lightning Bolt, you can't have that.
The
in any deck.
greediest of the greedy modern decks.
Right.
It's like, I need everything.
So yeah, it was not surprising to see no Death Shadow there. But yeah, Infect and Dredge were the top 2, and that makes sense. I think those are probably the 2 best decks in Modern right now.
And theoretically, they don't necessarily take anything from each other due to how you
Right.
build. You can build the decks themselves, which is really nice. And that's why I think like maybe when people saw Tom Ross playing Green White and saw him win the Modern, they were like, well, maybe this is a viable deck for potentially Dredge, for other things that are going to be showing up. Like maybe people were going to lean on Jund, and maybe you just try to pick that matchup, and hopefully that's what you get. Or people trying to play like control decks, it's where you play Tron, you have the better late game, or you could just have powerful cards that kind of interact profitably with them. So I think like they were just hoping to dodge the matchup, but I guess you can't always just always just fade the seat like Menguchi.
Right. Affinity was another big one, and that one obviously doesn't have any fetch lands or shocks in it, so that was kind of an easy one.
Well, yeah, you could either play Affinity or you play Lantern.
Yeah, you can't play both.
Right.
Got- Need them opals.
Now you didn't have to play either one of those, but yeah.
No, you
but
didn't.
yeah, they both have opal.
Certainly, you should never play the one of them.
Correct. If you like having friends.
Be a good person.
Right.
And just think of the season.
Oh wow, there were actually 4 teams that played Death Shadow Zoo. That's surprising to me. Now that I look at the breakdown, none of them were on camera, but
I guess their team just played other off the beaten path decks.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
actually one more copy of Blue Red Kiln Fiend, which is a similar idea compared to because you had a Grixis version of the zoo, which has become this Kiln Fiend deck, and that was pretty popular actually.
yeah, I was just going to talk about that. I guess the blue red Kiln Fiend deck had a high percentage of team wins. It was kind of awkward because they didn't break it down on like, how did this particular deck do?
It's really hard to do.
It's
though.
kind of like, okay, teams that had blue red Kiln Fiend did pretty well.
Yeah, because like you only actually when you turn these matchups in, it's 1-0.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
win the match, so there's
Right.
it's almost impossible to track that way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, and this is you can't really look at any of these modern decks and be like, so this is like the right build of any of these decks, pretty much.
Something I would suggest with that. So Patrick Chapin, it's premium, so I apologize. But Star City, he actually wrote an article about the things that you could stuff that you could take out of these decks, like you could take away from this. And the one that I think like there were a couple of innovations I thought were pretty nifty. Specifically, Abzan. Some of the coverage I did watch, the team that had Smuggler's Copters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were Abzan decks that were also running because at least in the match that I saw, they had an Infect deck, so they had their Noble Hierarchs.
Yeah,
were in
so
that
Elves
deck.
of Deep Shadow.
Elves of Deep Shadow in Abzan, which can crew a Smuggler's
yeah,
Copter.
yeah, and I'm like, man, that's really cool. And I have no idea if that has any broader applications, but like, that was really cool to watch. And I don't think you would have seen a team and get anybody get anywhere close to experimenting like that unless you were forced to in a
Yeah.
format like this.
I agree.
Yeah. Now I know that Willie Edel was kind of messing around with that, so that might have been
The reasoning.
taken from one of his lists. But yeah, that was definitely surprising to see.
Yeah.
And that's-
I think overall, this was as far as coverage is concerned, like a very high quality tournament to watch. They definitely treated it like a Pro Tour level tournament, which is absolutely correct. And the coverage team was great, mainly because LSV was there,
It's true.
and he's always hot fire. So.
Yeah, I'm really starting to enjoy the LSV Gabby team.
Yeah,
I really am. They play well off each other.
it's great.
It's good.
I really feel like they're coming together on this whole thing and like bringing LSV in and it being more of a steady thing with him. It's been awesome.
But the more he does coverage, the less likely it is he'll return to his his platinum season.
It's a double-edged sword, man. You just gotta pick what you want.
Let him commentate his matches while he plays them.
You can't. That's not how that works.
And so now, looking at my hand, I'm going to cast this card, which is going to upset my opponent.
It'll just be like a versus video. From
Yeah,
like Star
exactly.
City, except his opponent won't be in on it, and it's like, what? So you have Blood
Judging by
Moon?
the look
Okay.
of my opponent's face, he seems sad that I'm commentating on this right now.
So,
Sorry.
But yeah, that was awesome. So hats off to everyone who was a competitor in the World Magic Cup. If you are a listener of At Your End Step, we salute you on your hard work and dedication to the game to earn your spot. And congratulations again to Greece.
And I'll say it again. Like, I think this tournament would be probably the one I would most want to play in. Like, if I had the choice between playing in the World Magic Cup and playing like Worlds, like take money out of it, I think I'd much rather play the World Magic
this
Cup.
would be sweet to play.
Yeah, and you even heard that sentiment from a lot of the players that have done things like top 8 at a Pro Tour or even won, where they talk about like the how they felt, and they say that this felt way more important to them because they were a part of something bigger themselves. They were representing their country, and a lot of people, when you throw that into the mix, a lot of people get a huge range of emotions, pretty much, and they really feel like they're invested in the win. Plus, you're with a team, and like I think that always affects things. Like you always want to not let down people. So I think it's easier for people to get past letting down themselves. But when it's part of a team, like you really feel like you need to put that extra inch in to get the win. So I feel like that's where a lot of the emotion comes from, for sure. So moving on. So we had the Open from Star City Games. The tour stopped in Knoxville, and it was, like we said before, standard. And the whole thing was won by one Brad Nelson, who wins his first Open trophy, which
That's surprising.
Yeah, is very, very surprising. Playing Black Green Delirium, which is hilarious because he even had like an article that was like, should I be playing Black Green Delirium?
That was his article title on Friday. Should I play BG Delirium?
At the Open, and then like you had this weird juxtaposition on the website where it's like him holding his trophy and then that article, and it's just like, yes, clearly you made the right choice.
Did you see his Twitter thread, which was him just every time he updated his record, he was using a GIF from House of Cards?
Oh, so he's done that. The last one he did was all from
like Parks and Rec.
Rec,
Yeah.
which was also great. So, yeah, keep that up. I appreciate the on flavor of
it's like
like
the
TV
live-
series update gifs.
Yeah, it's like the live tournament report using GIFs. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. I think the GIF is a wonderful way to really express emotion. So we all know what he means, but please keep it to things that I've watched so that I can have that emotional resonance with them. Please, I would appreciate that. But what really, I don't necessarily want to talk a whole lot about deck lists from Standard or anything like that. We're kind of in the doldrums of it. This is what happens when you hit the holidays in the U.S. There just isn't a whole lot of tournaments, and there's not a whole lot of change in the actual format, when you really break it down.
I'm gonna talk about a deck.
I'm
just
no, we can still talk about decks,
undermining
obviously.
you entirely.
But I'm just saying, like, that's not going to be the focus of what we're going to talk about. We're going to
Sure.
talk more about, like, the breakdown, everything like that, and sort of the feature matches. So,
And I think
what is the
it's-
deck you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about BG Aetherworks, but I think even to your point, if you look like, regardless of decks, like there's also just like people that we know just continue, that are going to do well, just continue to do well in this format. Emma Handy has a top 8 here. BBD
yeah, that's
is
her
a
first
9th.
top 8 as well.
Yeah, Andrew Tenjum in 10th. We have Brad Carpenter, who we're going to talk about his list in a second, but Caleb Schur, Chris Anderson, all in top 16. So, it's definitely, people are becoming, well equipped with their decks. But yeah, I want to talk about the BG Aetherworks deck that
So
Brad
this is
Carpenter
the-
played.
yeah, the 12th place
This is
list.
the what was their team name?
Is it
Next
Nexus.
Ridge.
Nexus.
yeah,
right?
Next Ridge Nexus?
And that's Mark Nestico, who is a pretty specific flavor of writer on Star City. I happen to like his writing, but I know a lot of people are not a big fan of the bombastic style of his. But they played a deck that sort of jammed Delirium and Aetherworks together and made them kiss. So
Now kiss.
it was pretty interesting, but I want to mention this because I wanted to talk about this in conjunction with some we'll say research that Dave did. So Dave was trying to look into. So yeah, our format's heavily dominated by Flash and Black Green. It certainly is, but we're looking at even like how coverage is looking at these two things, and like so this deck. Carpenter was, I think, 12-4 in top 16. Nestico was 11-4-1, top 32. And then their other teammate, he according to his article today, dropped because it was his birthday. But they went like 23-8-1 with the deck. They said they did very little testing on it. They just tried the idea based on a PTQ list. Pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
They said it smashes the Delirium list, but also can itself become a serviceable Delirium list, playing 3 copies of Ishkana to sort of combat the Blue-White Flash deck. But apparently on camera, the 3 times it was featured, it got its teeth kicked in. And even the commentary by the last round was pretty negative on the deck. And I thought it was interesting to combine this idea of like, here's a deck. It's not totally new. It's a combination of a different version of a deck. But here's a team trying to fight against the metagame, is kind of successful. And the even coverage itself is kind of like, well, I don't know. So, what did you see in the actual coverage, Dave? I know you went through and looked at some of the matches.
Do you want me to just rattle off the feature
go
matches?
for it.
All right, so here were the feature matches. We'll start with round 4 because the first couple of rounds they had a couple wild things going on there. They had a blue-white prison deck and a
We had a couple
black-red
Charlie
zombie.
Sheens running around.
Yeah,
My heart sing.
yeah. So starting with round 4, and some of these rounds have more than one match, but we'll just go through the matches. So we had Black-Green Aetherworks versus Black-Green Delirium. Black-Green Delirium versus Blue-White Flash. Round 5, Blue-White Flash versus Blue-White Flash. Round 6, Black-Green Delirium versus Black-Green Delirium.
Just say Delirium Flash at this point.
Sure. Second match in round 6, Delirium versus Delirium. Round 7, Flash versus Delirium. Round 8, Delirium versus Delirium. Second match, Flash versus Mardu Vehicles. Oh, we got something else there. Round 9, Delirium versus Flash. Round 10, Delirium versus Mardu Vehicles. 11, Delirium versus Flash. Second match, Flash versus Flash. 12, White Red Humans versus Flash. 13, Black Green Aetherworks versus Delirium. Then we have Delirium versus Flash, Vehicles versus Flash, Flash versus Jeskai Control. So, yeah, a lot of Black Green Delirium and Blue-White Flash.
Now, I think there's one of the ways you can look at that is this, and I've talked about this and I've openly criticized this before, but Star City tries to highlight players. The
Right.
issue when I just read you off the list of players who did well in this tournament. All the ones I listed outside of Brad Carpenter, I guess Andrew Shout in 17th, he was playing Black Red Zombie, so that's a name you would know. But otherwise, they're playing Flash or Delirium. So if you're trying to highlight players, then you're highlighting them all playing the same decks. And we've advocated on here before that you should sometimes you need to try and find some different things, and they're not. And I think this coverage is, I'm going to be very honest, I think it's inadvertently leading to more disinterest in the format. You know what I mean? I didn't watch any coverage of it this weekend. I turned it on one time. I saw Delirium versus Delirium, and I said, I don't care. I'm not going to watch spiders that are 1/2s attack spiders that are 1/2s and then sad.
Ah,
Oh, whoa, easy.
Yeah.
Turn coverage off there.
We can't broadcast without the written and express consent of Star City
it
Games.
was inadvertent.
Wow.
Hey, I went to the coverage page and it kicked on. Sorry.
Star City Games, we apologize. We were not trying to impede your likeness in any fashion.
In no way, shape, or form, please do not send Cedric Phillips to our doorstep.
He's
totally
literally
not
just the
Matthias
cease and
Hunt.
desist.
That was totally not Matthias Hunt. It's fine.
But I mean, that I understand they want to highlight players making good plays, but at some point, that's boring. And I think you can point to it was the top 8, right? Where it was top 8 was Brad Nelson versus Emma Handy. Was one of the matches.
that was one of the potential matches that they could have shown, and of course they do the voting.
Yeah,
where,
if you are a subscriber to the Twitch channel, you get to vote.
Right.
And they voted for Jeskai Control versus
I don't
whatever,
know.
Delirium or
Flash.
Flash.
It was
but
Flash.
like literally like 2 of the biggest names on the circuit, right? Like Emma Handy is like up and coming. Brad Nelson, obviously a big name.
They're both right for Star City.
They didn't win the vote. If that doesn't tell you right off the bat that like it doesn't matter how good the players are, at some point jamming Avacyn into an Ishkana isn't fun to watch. And I think Star City's got to do, if they want to help the cause of Standard, they need to do a better job of finding better matchups and maybe the matchups don't exist, maybe they don't. But
Yeah, I see. I don't know that it's entirely their fault. I mean, like you said. I mean, if they want to highlight players. If all the best
Oh, I'm not
players
saying
in the
it's
room are
like
playing,
their whole fault.
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no,
they
but-
could do a better job.
right? But I mean, at some point, it's kind of their hands are tied. I mean, do you want to watch somebody at XN5 because they're playing a cool deck, or would you rather play somebody that's playing for top 8?
Andrew Shrout again was in 17th playing Black Red Zombies. Not once was he listed in your coverage.
They had him in like round 2.
Great, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, and I do think as far as like the games, it's not that the format is bad. Like, it's not that the games themselves are bad, because they are actually very interactive, and there's a lot of there's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot of room for skill to shine. So it's not. A lot of people complain about modern because it's like, oh, it's just that's a game's over by turn 3 or 4. You're not going to have that with standard, but like when you see the same decks over and over, it's just like, all right, kind of wish there was something else here. If you don't like either one of these decks, or like say if you don't have the money to buy Lilianas or Avacens, then I don't know what to tell you. Like it's just what it is. But yeah, I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, and we'll talk about more of the decks here at the end here with our question of the week. But yeah, it's getting rough. It's getting hard to defend. And if you look at that day 2 metagame breakdown, Delirium at 33% with 37 copies, Flash with 28% at 31 copies, and then you saw Vehicles hanging on at 13.5%. But you're talking about what you're talking about actual almost 60% of the field being 2 decks. That's not healthy,
Right.
and there's no way it's anywhere close to healthy.
No, it's basically like you're either playing one of these 2 decks, or you're just not playing, or you're playing with a handicap basically. And I just don't think like that is interesting. Like people may complain about modern being like, well, I mean, I guess we'll talk about this more in the question of the week. So, but modern being too open. But I mean, I don't want this either. I don't want a format that's 2 decks and then like some tier 1.5 decks that you can try if you don't want to spend the money. So this is not my ideal. This is not something that I find satisfactory. But I think that's all we want to talk about. The open at the very least for right now until we move more maybe to standard. Unless Dave, you want to bring something up? Nope.
No.
He's looking like
I was trying to. Yeah, I did. I was trying to research the last open that Bant Company was legal in to see what the numbers were on that, and I don't believe it was anywhere close.
No, it wasn't.
I thought I wrote it down.
It was definitely a significantly
that
high.
was like an 18% or something.
Yeah,
like that. Like
yeah, it's right here. So, so it was SCG Richmond. It was the last standard open that Collected Company was legal, and it had 14 of the top 32 decks. Which, I mean,
That's a lot.
it's a lot. But I mean, we're talking about with this open. I mean, if you combine Flash and Black Green Delirium, it's 25 of the top 32.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like,
just insane.
so I mean, it was one thing with Company that was kind of one deck that had a high representation, but there were other options that you could play,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's like, okay, there's just 2 decks, and basically if you can't beat both of them, then you might as well not even.
well, we're already really far into this. So do you want to just move this question of the week up here a little bit?
Let's just touch on the classic and the 2 classics, and there's not much to talk about.
they happened.
Yeah.
They
So
both had less than 75 players.
give a shout out.
No, that's not true.
What did Modern have?
Modern had 100 and something.
Oh, I thought it was like 70 something.
No.
Okay,
that
my
was,
apologies.
That was false.
So shout out Modern Classic to Todd Stevens taking it down with Sun and Moon. So that's an interesting that red white prison deck. So that's pretty awesome. They don't seem to know how to name their decks. The second place Escape Shift list has, I assume, 0.
Yeah, there were
shifts
0
in it.
escape shifts in the list.
Oh, okay, so it's just red green Valakut.
It was a
Or
red green
red-green through the breach. Right?
Breach Titan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another Breach Titan list, but for some reason they named them 2 different things.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But something we do want to note on: 0 Dredge in the top 16, and only 1 Infect deck in the top 16. So I think that is, a lot of people say like, these decks need to be, banned. Something needs to give with these, lists. But I mean, judging from the classic, obviously it's only 100, a little bit over 100 players.
it was 140.
140, so closer to 150.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Whoever showed me whatever the data point I read was way off. Okay. Well, can't
And,
trust what you
um,
read on the internet.
Yeah, I think Abraham Lincoln said that. I'm fairly certain.
He also loved Thanksgiving.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Maybe he did.
You actually might have. That I don't understand where you're going with that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
He probably did. Who
Yeah.
doesn't like Thanksgiving? I don't understand.
Okay. There's actually some people who not
Stop it. We're done with that.
You asked the question.
I understand. I understand.
insensitive.
I'm a terrible human being.
Well, yeah.
So obviously a small representation, but it's good to see that these decks. When you it blows my mind. People call for something in Infect or something in Dredge to be banned. It's too powerful. But then you look at the breakdown for Standard, and it's like, what? It's like if Infect or Dredge looked like what Standard looked like, then that
people would be
make
like,
sense.
"Oh, never played this format again."
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's insane to me. But and then Legacy Classic, Drake Susser, I want to say won with Sneak and Show. So Drake back at it again.
He started from
Stop
the bottom. He started from
Now
the
he's
bottom,
here.
and now he's there.
He's winning Legacy Classics with
Yeah.
Sneak and Show. So congrats to him.
No,
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move into the question of the week since we did that quick rundown. And this is Standard focused. So I do want to note that Brian DeMars wrote an article on Star City Games, not Star City, excuse me, on Channel Fireball. So you can go and read it. And it's titled "What's the Matter with Standard?" And he kind of brings up some points as to why this sort of Standard doldrum might be happening, and people might be not as interested in Standard as they once were. And we obviously have looked at the breakdowns of this recent Open and seeing that it's kind of devolved into a glut of either Blue White Flash or Black Green Delirium. And we kind of want to ask is this an honest representation of the metagame, or are players just getting lazy? And furthermore, do we or do you prefer formats with fewer decks or with a wider range? For reference, the top 32 Star City Games Richmond, the last Open with Collective Company only had 14, like we said, the top 32. So that's another important point to kind of pull out, because that's the last time we had a really kind of overbearing, quote unquote best deck in the room. And even when that was that, you still saw more of a diverse metagame in the entirety of playing. So very, very important. But I think I'll start with this just because I really enjoyed the DeMars article. I just want to run through some of the points that he had made, basically. So one of the points is that Modern might be encroaching into Standard's territory. There might be a drop-off in new players. Standard might be getting solved too quickly. And Standard has become about cards, not decks. And then lastly, Standard needs more good mana. Yeah, Standard needs more good mana, basically. So we're kind of saying that. So he's kind of saying that Modern is overtaking, Standard. It's becoming just the more popular format. The decks themselves are about powerful cards like Mythic Rares, Planeswalkers, Smugglers, Copters, things like that, where it's not about synergistic decks per se. I want to say, but is that what you're trying to make with that statement? Yeah. Standard being solved too quickly. Obviously, we have a lot more data, a lot more tournaments that just we are able to say what is popular in the format, and people latch onto that, and then player drop off. So that in itself is a topic I think we've talked about. You have increasing costs in Standard. You don't have the flexibility that you might have used to if you want to be successful in winning. You don't have a budget deck that's friendly to enter in on, which causes a lot of players not to want to invest in the format because there's too much of an upfront cost, which is an argument that people make for Legacy. An argument people make for Modern. You shouldn't really have that argument for Standard. So. But, I think that, obviously, I don't like Standard to be like this. I don't like it to be like a 2-deck format. I don't think it's healthy. And, I thought that this was what new rotation was supposed to fix. But apparently, they just want old rotation back so that we can continue having oppressive cards in the in the metagame for a prolonged period of time. And it's a shame that maybe standard is getting solved too quickly. Maybe they really did try to limit the amount of data they even expose from Magic Online. I remember you used to get like everything, and they even now they're only publishing a few of the results from leagues and stuff like that when it was vastly different beforehand. So it's just. It's not something I enjoy. It could be that players just aren't wanting to try and figure out the format and try to push the format. And I think that a lot of that probably has to do with the actual cost of a tournament. So maybe if tournaments were less, you're talking about like a $30, $40, open, maybe you may want to take more of a risk with what you're playing. But if you're going to invest $50, $60, $70 more into a tournament, why wouldn't you want to play the best deck and that would give you the best shot of winning? And I think that has a lot to do with it. If I'm going to play in a $50 open, then I want to play the best deck that I can. And if there's no point in going to a tournament with a brew and wanting to win, then why try? So when we take a look at opens, we see a lot of the cream of the crop show up to the top, and they're going to be playing the best deck they have access to.
Cream of the crop show up at the top. All right, I'm going to stop you.
No, it's fine. I
think you're going too far doom and gloom, and I think that even the deck we talked about here with Team Nexus pointed out that you can still work and exploit holes in the metagame. We have a strange standard right now where we have two decks that are the reason they're showing up almost in equal numbers is because they are really weird against each other, right? It is a weird two lions circling around, and then there's a couple small birds on the sides who are like, "Can we get peace? Can we get?" All right, but I think you could find you have to find a way to take at least one of them down, and then you can work on the other. That's how a metagame works, anyway. So, is this metagame seem inherently broken? I think it does. Looking purely in arguments of DeMars' article, there's a couple things I think I heavily agree with. One, I agree with his comments on the way that sort of answers are being designed. You talk about the card, look at things. We talked about this a bunch last week about how there's no graveyard hosing, right? So you have a card like Ishkana. I don't know what to tell you. A 5-mana creature that brings in 3 bodies with reach is going to be good no matter what. There's a reason Siege Gate Commander sees play in every possible format it can see play, and all the way back into Legacy.
Yeah, Cloud Goat Ranger was a really good card in the Kuthkin decks.
And you don't have to try very hard to do this, and you can't punish a person for trying really hard to do it. If they're going all in, even this the Aetherworks deck we're talking about. Nestico said, one of the selling points of the deck is that by turn 2, you pretty much consistently have Delirium. You should be allowed to punish that. You can't. Looking at things like Avacyn, right? There are not a lot of removal spells that deal with Avacyn cleanly for a lot less mana than she costs. You'll be okay, cool. You have your unlicensed integration. Declaration works as a sorcery. Oh, she has flash? That's weird, right? If you continue to move away from your Doom Blades, you know what I mean? You continue to punish people. Players will then... You talk about standard being about cards, like he says. Well, it's also true because answers to cards are actively bad. Right. They're inefficient. So the best versions of... look at Gideon. Yeah, you could play Ruinous Path. Their Gideon might already be -4 by the time it's out because you stop printing countermatch that interacts in a meaningful way. So you can see where their decisions to make standard much more creature combat focused have also caused this. And... maybe they'll go back. Maybe they'll start to see this, but that's worrying, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the point about standard being about cards, and I was thinking about okay, so if you're playing standard, right? If you're not playing Smuggler's Copter, Gideon, Avacyn, Ishkana, or Liliana, right? If you're not playing at least one of those cards, what are you even doing?
Yeah, that's probably true.
You know what I mean? I mean,
probably not winning.
Whoa. Jeez.
Yeah, that's also probably true.
I also think I agree with his point on the way the mana bases are. I had a ton of fun in the cons format. Cons with fetches. Yes, I know you had Abzan being pretty dominant, but I played 4-color dragons. You got to play the converge cards that they literally designed for that to happen with, which are now just rotting away in standard. In this case, you have 2 decks that they have great mana because they have enemy fast lands and a mana a man land, creature land, and that's it. They don't have to do anything else. Like they get perfect mana for the two. Like look at the decks that get to literally just play like a green 1-drop and then they're Liliana on turn 3 and have no issues in standard. But if you stretch beyond that, if you try to work against those decks by dipping into the third color, it's hard. Jeskai Control kind of gets away with it. But even like you saw going back to the PTUs, you saw Yasuoka be able to beat those 3-color decks by staying 2-color. Well, I guess Grixis, but it wasn't like nearly the same as what the other decks were doing. So I agree that the more diverse the mana is, then the more the more interesting answers even get a chance to be played. But
Yeah.
it's hard to design a standard that's always like that. But like at some point, like I don't know. I'll make one last point, and I'll let you go, Dave. I wish they would stop, and I'm going to use. You can decide if this word is okay or not. I wish they would stop bastardizing the color pie. Is that okay?
That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Because look at Avacyn in white. Why does Avacyn get a 4/4 flash flyer that has a red backside in standard that gets to wipe the board? It doesn't make sense. Why did green get the best instant spell in standard for 2 years? Fix the color pie. That's where half this problem is coming from, in my opinion. But that's just me. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say to kind of counter your argument about the mana. I think the mana, well, at least the fast lands are a good step in the right direction to having good mana. Like, you can't have every format have like a fetch and a dual land mana base like we had with Cons. I mean, that was good for a while, but you kind of saw what happened there too, because it was just all like 4-color good stuff decks. You had Mardu green and Jeskai black, and that's kind of what you saw there. So I mean, I think that's good to a point. But yeah, I would say I think what the issue is, and kind of going back to what we said about individual cards, I think all of the best individual cards are in just those couple of decks, and there's really, Chandra's like a pretty good card, but it doesn't line up well against,
Do you remember when we were excited about her? I know I was.
Yeah, I think we all thought it was, the best Planeswalker they had printed in a long time.
No. Isn't that weird how planeswalkers like that don't do anything against 4/4 flash flyers with indestructibility attached to them that flip in white boards? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Against
Who would have saw that
4
coming?
creatures for 1 card?
Yeah,
Huh? Isn't that weird? Sorry, I got angry there for a sec. Sorry, everybody.
Maybe the issue is though that they need to have a better spread of great cards to build around. What's the blue card that you want to build around? Like Torrential Gearhulk, I guess. Is that like the best blue card right now? It's pretty good, but
Well,
it's kind of fringe at this point.
What instance are you playing with it?
Yeah, like
That are good
the
enough.
draw 2, scry 2 thing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Whatever.
you ostensibly you want to be using like removal spells with it, but then you have to be playing like Grixis because you want like unlicensed disintegration. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So then and that's much harder to do than your opponent has to do. So you're working a lot harder, and then that's where it goes back to Morgan's point, where it's like I'm working so hard for this. Why am I not just doing this?
Yeah. If you have like, and the answer to the question is you don't have the money to, like, you don't have the money to buy the cards, so that is why you have, like, it is a a ratio that either you have money to buy cards and to play these decks, or you don't, and you work around ways to beat both of them. To me, it's just not worth it. Hopefully, when Aether Revolt comes out, then maybe we will see some more diversification of the format. Maybe that's where they print some of their answers. But I think it's honestly surprising in how much the format actually doesn't revolve around Kaladesh when you really take a look at it. So obviously the vehicles decks, they do. They have a lot of Kaladesh cards in it.
Yeah, the Marvel decks do.
Sure. But like when you take a look at Blue White Flash and you take a look at Black Green Delirium, you don't see it. Like you see the fast lands for Black Green.
Yeah, I mean they're built around the Shadows block.
Yeah, it's just like, so I guess the real, maybe the thing that you have to take a look at is maybe Kaladesh itself wasn't impactful enough to standard as a whole. I don't know. That could be an argument that you might be able to make.
It's a good point. We had the same issue when it was like Gideon seemed to be the only thing that came out of battle for a while. So maybe that's it. Maybe the new formats, maybe because this could be a 2 set issue where they need to make their presence known faster and they're not. I don't know how you fix that though.
I don't know either. I'm not a game designer, so
I saw an interesting tweet. I think it was Todd Stevens said online like Gideon costs more than all the other cards combined. And was it what set was that in? Jeez, Battle for Zendikar.
yeah,
I mean that makes sense. It's like
it's just
I
the
don't
best
know.
card, you know. It's
yeah,
just,
by far.
So, I don't know. I'm not going to worry about standard for quite some time. We'll see what Aether Revolt does, and maybe if there's interesting things that go on there, maybe it piques my interest. Maybe it'll be something that I want to do. I'm kind of sad that there's not a strong like aggressive deck content or like strong like fast red deck or something like that. You know, the closest thing you have is the vehicles decks, which is fine, and yeah, they're aggressive, but I don't feel like they're good. And then I would say the next more aggressive deck is going to be Flash, and I'm not buying that deck. That's not going to be the thing I'm doing.
I do have a standard deck. I have black red aggro. I
Yeah.
think that's actually okay.
Sure,
It's not a huge part of the metagame, but it can do things.
yeah, but
I think we're trying to examine what we've had these discussions. I will say what I'm about to say I've said many times, but we're not that far from Aether Revolt. And when I say not that far, I mean standard shuts down for a little while. You have the standard showdown at your local stores, but local store metagames are not. Hopefully, your local store metagame is not nearly as dire as SCG. They don't tend to be. But after the Invitational, and then SCG was it Denver? Not SCG. I mean GP Denver.
GP Denver. Yeah.
After that, you really don't have a lot of big standard events until we come back from the new year, and then we're really close to Aether Revolt.
yeah.
So,
That, I mean, when we come back, I think that's when like
spoilers.
yeah,
again.
spoiler season starts.
So hopefully it won't feel as bad when standard sort of goes on the down low for a little bit, and then we get new cards. I will say, if Aether Revolt doesn't, in my opinion, address the graveyard issue in some fashion, and bring some sort of power back to some of these other archetypes, I'm going to be very worried because I know they've had to go back in and work on Amonkhet. And those sets are not going to be what they originally envisioned them as because they had to go and readjust them to this rotation. So my hopes for how those sets interact with the previous sets, I don't know. They're going to have to rework them a lot. So Aether Revolt, I need a hero.
Yeah, come on, let's do it. Let's have a revolution in standard. So that is going to be it for the question of the week. Let's go ahead and do a little special, our last Thanksgiving bit. This is our actual last one. Sorry, I had the false alarm earlier in the cast.
I actually really like the title of this segment, so I need you to, in your best NPR voice, introduce this segment, Morgan.
So this next segment is going to be a magical Thanksgiving without your Insta.
God, that was nice. That was nice. If you just had like a coffee to take a sip of right afterwards.
Yeah, I don't have one,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
do a little.
That sounds terrible. It's unfortunate.
I'm very sorry if you were wearing headphones and you were expecting something better.
So
It was water. It wasn't coffee, so it didn't sound as good. Sorry.
So we're again recording this on Thanksgiving Eve, and we just wanted to kind of take a look at our year magic wise, and maybe say something that we're thankful for. So who wants to start?
I'll go first since I had time to think about this a little bit, and you guys haven't had as much time. I want to say, and I'm not just saying this because they sponsor us, but I want to say I'm thankful for Comic Town. They're the store that we all play at, and they've done a lot even over just the past year to grow, and they're running their own classic series this year, which is something new that they did, and they've always listened to the players and have kind of I think grown a lot in the Magic community, at least in the greater Columbus area. So thankful for Comic Town for giving us a place to play, and just being a quality establishment. And then personally, I'm thankful for kind of the group that we have here, or the group of friends that we have. That we have a cube group that we get together every now and then. Used to be every week, but it's kind of dwindled off a little bit. It's probably like every other week or so now. But it's always fun, and I think we're all good friends. We've all known each other for a while now, and I think we're it's not just Magic. I think it's just we're all good friends. So.
I know this is supposed to be purely magic related, but I swear if you don't say you're thankful for your son, I'm gonna tell your wife.
Well, yeah, it's magic related. Of course, I'm thankful for my son.
Okay, I'm just
but-
making sure.
I'm just,
I'm just making sure.
Yeah. This is magical Thanksgiving, where sons don't exist. Like,
I'm not touching that one.
I mean, there are a lot of sons in Magic to be.
There are a lot of
but-
therapists who could touch that one, but I won't. Oh man.
you know what I meant.
Where's some good? I feel like Kamigawa Block probably had a lot of good sons, right?
Karn's a great son.
Oh yeah,
Karn's
Karn
the son.
father.
He's the Karn
Yeah.
father, and he's the son.
Yeah. Oh man.
If we're trying to create magic dogma, we've done it.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So-
Karn is definitely lead. Like the closest.
Gerard is a good son, adopted.
I guess it's true. Yeah.
So his adoptive dad is in the new Commander set. Mm-hmm. He's whatever the legend with flanking. So that's his adopted dad. So there you go. See, sons exist. Mirrodin has 5 of them. Anyways, man. So I'll start off this way. I'm thankful for Dave because my magic addiction never looks nearly as bad next to his. Not all seriousness. No, I'm pretty thankful that I managed to obtain one of my personal goals with the game this year and attend my first pro tour, and I hope not my last pro tour. But I don't know. It was a really awesome experience for me. Like I've never, like I said before, I'd never flown before. I'd never been out of the country outside of Canada. So it was a really cool experience getting to go and play on that stage and do the actual thing, the play the game, see the world scenario, and sort of broaden my own horizons a little bit. That was I'm pretty thankful for the chance to have done that, and I'm very thankful for my wife and my family who were really supportive, and my wife was okay with me taking time off of work to go play a game halfway across the world. So those things are pretty, and I'll say, I think I've said this every year we've done this segment, but I'm pretty thankful for, I'll say ditto on Dave's for the Cube group and the group of people who were around it and the cast. I really enjoy this, even when weeks are difficult. Get to sit here and just sort of joke about magic and
Shoot the breeze.
and get mock angry about things that don't really affect, I don't know. This has been a really rough month for personally, a really rough year. I think for a lot of us here and worldwide, it's been rough, and it's kind of nice to have something that is not that important to pretend like it's really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a valid thing, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's nice to be able to fully commit to something sometimes that you can just take your mind off everything, and I don't know. It's very nice.
Yeah. So, as far as what I have to be thankful for that is magic related, is probably magic in general. 2016, if we were an explicit podcast, I would really tell you how I feel about 2016. But since we're not, I'm going to say 2016 was the worst. In my life personally, it was the worst and the best year of my life. So figure that one out.
I could solve for X.
So I am in general thankful that magic is something that I do because it was an escape for me for times that really were garbage, and it's something that has brought me to two of the people who are in my wedding who mean the most to me, who I'm very thankful were there and were there to support me on my most special day.
He's talking about us.
That is true. And again, it was an outlet. It was something that I could do that would allow me to get something, off my chest or out of my head. And without it, I don't think I'd be nearly as well adjusted as I am today about everything that happened this year. And wouldn't be surrounded by, that safety net of people that you really do need in your life for when you go through these trials and tribulations. And I'm thankful for my wife that allows me to continue to do this, to take time away from her, and to really just goof off with my friends for a solid weekend every month. And we all need that. We all need that release, that escape as human beings in general. And I really feel like everyone has their something, whether it's magic or whether it's video games or whether it's knitting or whether it's sports or you have an outlet. You have something that you use to express the feelings, the things that you can't say sometimes. And magic for 2016 has been that for me in many different ways. And I appreciate that it exists and that it's a game, even though we complain about it and say that it sucks sometimes, it is still one of the best games that exists. That's ever existed, basically, and I'm glad that I know how to play it. I'm glad that I enjoy playing it, and I hope that 2017, I can have more accolades to be thankful for in Magic, but I will just take being thankful that the game exists. It is a part of my life for 2016.
We might need it.
No joke. But yeah, I think that is a very solid segment, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
We're thankful for you as well.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of the feedback we get is awesome. The interaction we get. Some of you out there really think we're funny, and I appreciate that. So thankful for you guys too.
Yeah, Rush
I really
is
think you
thankful.
guys are funny. I'm not very funny.
Yeah, but you are not the comic relief though. I think you know
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, I stay in my lane. Whenever I try to be funny, it's not good.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's okay. Know your place. It's
So,
all right. So wrap up. This weekend we have GP Chiba, which is going to be Legacy and no video coverage. So
So if a legacy GP happens halfway across the world with no video coverage, does it
Does-
really,
does it really actually
Did
happen?
it really happen?
that's an old proverb, I believe.
So it's
Abraham
pretty
Lincoln said that.
offensive. Like,
Abraham Lincoln said that.
Yeah.
That's right.
there's a bunch of countries that don't have video coverage as well. Do they exist? I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure.
We're not the country, but the actual GP.
Well, but I'm saying I think it's the same concept though. Like it's a really messed up concept, right?
We're just saying that we probably won't talk about it very much when we come back. We also have the Standard Showdown over the weekend, so your local store. There is likely to be a Standard tournament, but obviously contact them for the details. Comic Town does have one, so contact them for all the sweet details.
Yeah, and there was if you go to Daily MTG, I know LSV wrote about it, and there's actually just a store finder. They'll show you, you can put in your address or zip code or whatever. It'll show you all the stores that are running them. So
And to that point, I will also say I saw that Comic Town, they have their own Black Friday deals, but they're doing a bunch of Magic related deals over the weekend.
Yeah.
You can check out the Comic Town Gaming
Center on Facebook.
But they've got some really sweet deals, a bonus bump on trade-ins, and like deck was it Deck Toolkit or Deck Builder Toolkit? That what it is? Those are like only 15, like a bunch of other cool. And if you spend X amount of money, you get like a free deck box. And obviously, right now, if you buy the booster boxes, if the store still has these Standard Showdown packs, you also get 2 of those when you buy a box of Kaladesh.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty good value.
good weekend to go play some Standard and spend lots of money at Comic Town.
So yeah, specifically Comic Town. So we are going to take next week off. And with that being the case, we will be there will be other things happening on the next weekend. We have GP Denver and Madrid. They are both Standard. We have the Season 3 Invitational in Atlanta, which is
I will be attending.
Yes, which Mike will be attending, trying to get his sweet token made, trying to take that crown, and then. Comic Town will be hosting the RPTQ for PT Aether Revolt on Sunday, December 4th, and it's going to be modern. And the Last Chance Qualifier will be held on Saturday the 3rd, so if you want to sneak into that RPTQ, there's your chance. So yeah, that'll be a pretty sweet thing to maybe participate in.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, me too.
But then, like, if I actually qualify, it's like, I don't think I could actually go.
I could actually qualify and go, so maybe something that I do.
So for fun, so I'm going to Atlanta anyway, so I couldn't do it. But I also shouldn't do it even if I didn't go to Atlanta because I had to go to these weird weddings in the last few months and burned all my personal days, so I wouldn't be able to go.
Weird.
Oh.
That's weird.
Awkward. So that is everything for this week. Oh, is that me?
Oh no, I was just in general,
Oh, okay.
just somebody's wedding.
Don't be sassy. You had a fun time at my wedding.
Those weddings happen to be
Literally,
during the
he
middle
just
of the
like
week.
2 minutes ago he said he was thankful for us going to the wedding, and here I'm criticizing it. That's
Yeah.
me. And I stinkered.
Yeah, I'm gonna actively find people that invited you to their wedding and tell them not to invite you anymore.
Thank you. I've gone to the important ones, I think. My wife's here. Do I have any more weddings I have to worry about for a while?
I don't know. Ours wasn't important. So.
Wow. Uh-oh. Getting
I'll have you know, I wasn't invited to that one. But
to our wedding?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd known you guys for like 2 months at that point.
It's true.
just saying.
When we
Anyway,
get,
You weren't invited to mine
when we
either.
get divorced and eventually remarried, you'll get that invite.
Okay. All right.
just for fun. So that's going to be everything for this week. Please check us out. We are on Twitter. We are at symbol your end step, or just do a search for your end step and we'll pop up. So give us a follow there, or find us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/@your-end-step. While we're on Facebook, check out Comic Town Gaming Center, so you can check in on their sweet events and deals that they're going to be having over the weekend. You can also download us weekly on iTunes, or via the Google Music app. We are also on there as well, or on MTG Cast, where you can find a litany of other wonderful and exciting Magic podcasts. If you haven't listened to episode 200 of Magic the Aventuring, do so. It is a musical.
Yeah, they actually wrote music like a musical. There's a bunch of songs they wrote. It's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, it's very impressive. We won't be doing that for episode 200.
Yeah, I was just going to throw that out there.
Happen.
That would be a horrible idea.
You don't want to hear us sing. It's not pleasant to anyone.
We could like
or
auto-tune
anything.
ourselves.
I don't know. You're a pretty
What-
good singer.
We
Oh,
did
snap!
We
Got
did
that-
do.
got that Katie word of seal of approval.
There
is
it
what
is.
I'm
There's the
thinking.
stamp.
We did do. This was a long time ago, so only long-time listeners will know this.
Oh, we did
the
acapella.
the acapella theme song.
It was bad.
I thought it was sweet, but it wasn't very good, but it was funny.
Yeah, our 200th episode won't be musical.
No, we'll not.
Sorry.
So, this is going to be everything for this week of At Your End Step here, and like I said, we will be not casting next week, so you will miss an episode. But hey, you're hearing about it now, so you're not too worried about it. But we will catch you guys next time. You have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful day. Bye.